Hi guys, welcome to my next video. I have so many ideas for videos and I write them all down and then I lose the notebook, but I finally decided I'm going to start making some topical videos because I need to grow my subscriber base. I really want my channel to get monetized and I need to have over 1,000 subscribers and X number of viewed hours per year. So please help me with that, and I've never asked for people to subscribe, but please subscribe to my channel. I'm almost at 400 subscribers and I would love to reach 1,000 before the end of the year. Thank you. So what I want to talk about today is my experience when I was a cashier or bank teller, as they say in the States. I have only worked as a cashier in the UK, so this will be a British-based experience. The reason I joined banking is when I was a little kid, banking has always been this admired and respected profession. By the time I went to university, it had lost a lot of its prestige and it became sort of a disrespected profession, in fact, because of the credit crunch in 2007 and 2008. But I had already started working in banking right before the credit crunch, so when I first started it was actually fun and it was very different, but that only lasted about 6 months, and at the end of 2007 the credit crunch happened and everything in banking changed and the cashiers were affected, or tellers. So the first bank I ever worked for was Allied Irish Bank. Allied Irish was actually pretty fun. I mostly worked with Irish people and or Irish people who were born in London or the UK. So it had a specific culture atmosphere to it that I appreciated. Every Friday we would go to the pub and drink and socialize. So that was the fun part. Here's the non-fun parts that I didn't like. Maybe I'll make a different video about things that I liked about being a cashier. This video is about things that I didn't like. So when I first joined a bank, I thought being a cashier would be a temporary gig. A temporary job. I wanted to be a cashier for about 3 to 6 months, and then I assumed I would get promoted and move up the ladder and do something different, move to an office, work on loans or applications, and that's what I assumed would happen. No such luck. Turns out that once you become a teller or a cashier, you're kind of trapped. Often you actually work behind a box, like a boxed-in area behind glass because of security, so you are almost like a monkey in a cage and you are stuck there. You know how you always hear in movies that, mostly in American movies, like someone comes home and says, "Hey honey, I got promoted," or I got a promotion at my job, let's go celebrate. It never happens in real life. You don't get promoted. What you have to do is you have to fight for a job, and there are fewer jobs than there are people wanting to get promotions or people wanting to move up the ladder, especially when you're a teller or a cashier in a branch. The branch only has like 8 employees, maybe 7 or 8, maybe 10 if it's a big branch, and everyone wants to move up, and there's going to be like 5 or 4 cashiers or 6, so they're all going to want to move up, and there's no jobs. I mean, the only thing they could become was the assistant branch manager or the branch manager or the mortgage advisor. So if they want to become a mortgage advisor, they have to do a lot of studying and pass qualifications and wait for a vacancy. If they want to become a branch manager, well, they're going to wait years and years because most branch managers stay in their jobs for like 20, 30 years. So it's not very often that a branch manager position opens up. And when it does open up, there's going to be 100 people applying for it. And you're going to be competing against all those people. So it's not so easy to just become a cashier and then move on. It does happen, but it's not easy. I also find out that in branches people will often talk about one another behind their back in order to ingratiate themselves to the manager so that they can get promoted, they can get a better job. They'll talk bad about your coworkers. They'll tell the manager about the mistakes that you made. They'll inflate their own stories and downplay your stories. People will always do that, and it happens a lot in branches. Another thing that I found difficult was you have to have a very, very good attention to detail. In the branches that I worked with, they were so stringent about the tiniest mistake you made. So even at the end of the day, you obviously have to balance your till. You have to count all the money that you have, and make sure that everything that you've given out and taken in adds up and the till is balanced. So if you're down by like $5 or £5, they're going to make you stay after hours and find it. And they're going to make you count all your money again and again and again until you find it $5. Even if you over by $5, they're going to make you count your money until you find why you over. Maybe you've taken it from a customer and you need to pay it back, or you didn't record what you've taken. So you need to find that mistake, go through every single transaction you've done in the day. So that's one area. Another area is that, first of all, cashiers were not just cashiers. We had to work, we were given targets, and that's another thing that I hated. We were given targets, and we had to start selling stuff after the credit crunch. So, you know, someone comes to your window and they just want to deposit some money or take some money out, and you had to go, "So, Mrs. Smith, how much money do you have in your savings account? Oh, do you want to put it in a bond, or do you want a loan?" And we had to like try to cross-sell different products. I hated that, because if someone wants a loan, they'll come to me and they'll say, "I want a loan." If they're coming to get their Social Security check, they don't want a loan. They just want their money and they want to go and be on their way. But I had to badger every customer and make referrals. We were targeted for referrals. We had to make referrals to our mortgage advisors, to our financial advisors, and everyone had to make, 3 referrals a day, let's say. And it was so annoying because we knew these people. We knew our customers. Like, we know they don't want insurance or credit card or a mortgage. Like, we know them well. Obviously, if it was a new person, I would ask them. But, I don't mind asking them. But it's like we had to do it all the time. So I hated targets. Anyway, once I also worked for a bank called Northern Rock. So at Northern Rock, the cashiers had to fill out the applications as well. So if we found a customer who wanted to open a bank account, we had to close our window, take them inside, sit down in a room, and fill out the application with them. Obviously, they had to have their IDs, everything. And if you forgot to fill out one window, you got penalized later. So your manager would give you like a strike. And if you had 3 strikes a month, you didn't get your monthly bonus. So at Northern Rock, we all got like a little bonus every month. It was, I think, £250. So get this, if any of the workers in the branch made more than 3 mistakes, the whole branch was punished and nobody got the bonus. So it was collective punishment. That was ridiculous. Another thing that I hated was one-to-ones. So every month, every worker, every cashier had to have a one-to-one. What it is sitting down with your assistant branch manager, usually, or sometimes your manager, and they would have their little form. Nothing was ever natural. Everything was structured and pre-written and prepared, and they had their little criteria that they had to use to judge you and evaluate your performance. And I found those one-to-ones so fucking tedious and annoying. I hated them. The reason why I hated them was because everything was against common sense. Everything was against logic. You had to follow stupid procedures that did not make sense so much of the time. The assistant branch manager that did my one-to-one was usually way dumber than me. They didn't have college education. They were just following the script. They were like, the stereotypical Indian call center worker who doesn't know how to think. They're just reading off a script. That's how most of my one-to-ones were. These people were just reading off the script and saying, "Did you do this? Did you do this? I didn't like how you did this." And there was no flexibility, and I hated those things. And I had to come up with my own achievements. They had to say, "Well, show to me what you did last month to move on to the next level," or whatever. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just doing my job. I'm coming in every day, I'm serving customers, I'm doing my best. My video cut out, so I have to resume. Anyway, so I didn't like the white one-to-ones for the reasons I explained. Another thing I didn't like in both of my cashier jobs was micromanagement. I hate being micromanaged, and I don't think it's a good idea. When you micromanage, you always have a manager looking over your shoulder and checking on what you're doing every several minutes or several times during 1 hour. I don't think it's an effective method because it puts so much pressure on you. When you know you're being watched, you can't relax, and because I couldn't relax, it caused me to make more mistakes I was doubting everything that I was doing because I knew I was being watched. And when you doubt yourself, you're going to make more mistakes. You're not going to perform at your best. So I don't think micromanagement was a good idea. The way it looked is that in the first bank at Allied Irish, my manager would sit right outside the cashier's cage, and she would hear everything we were saying, and even if she pretended, even if she acted like she didn't hear, she did, because later during one-to-ones she would bring up conversations that we had no idea that she heard, and there were conversations that we had as cashiers between one another, and had we known that she was eavesdropping on us, we would not perhaps have been talking about that stuff. There were just private conversations and she heard everything, so that was a bit creepy. At the second bank, it was even worse sometimes, because you would be sitting at the cashier, you would be sitting at the window, and the manager would sit maybe 6-8 feet behind you at her desk, and she would literally just watch you. You could feel her eyes like boring into your back, into your neck, and she would again observe everything you did, and she would interject. Sometimes she would walk over and interrupt my conversation with a customer if she thought I wasn't conducting the conversation properly and in the way that she wanted to. It was very inflexible. I hate micromanagement, and often, I don't know if it's changed, but back then cashiers were micromanaged most of the time. Another thing I hated was excessive procedures. I understand that you have to be prepared to take ID from every customer, and you have to protect the customer's bank account and privacy by identifying them. That's obvious, and no one would argue with the need to identify a customer. However, the procedures required that we take their ID every single time they come into the branch. So even if you knew that this was Mrs. Smith, who comes in every Friday, you still had to ask her for ID. I know, it defies logic, it defies common sense, and this is why I resented this procedure, but we had to take ID every single time and write down the ID number, the expiry date, what kind of ID it was. Now in the States, it's easier because everyone's got a little plastic driver's license. In the UK, some people who live in London don't have cars, they don't drive, so they don't carry a little plastic driver's license. They had to bring their passport. You would literally say to so many people, hi, did you bring a passport with you today? Another thing that I really hated were uniforms. So corporate wear. They were usually very boring and very poor quality. The shirts were made from a mixture of polyester and cotton, and mostly polyester. So were the suits. So they were cheap suits. I didn't mind dressing up for work in a suit and tie. Actually, I liked wearing a suit and tie in London. But I liked wearing my own suit and tie. I had my own quality shirts that I bought for myself to look professional, and I wasn't allowed to wear them. I wasn't allowed to wear my ties. I only had to wear corporate wear because they wanted everyone to look the same. And again, I hate that mentality. I hate that the individuality of particular people is being squashed and put down. And I didn't like this look of uniformity. It deprives you of the opportunity to be who you are and express yourself and be a professional, because my own clothes were very professional and I had to wear this cheap, tatty uniform. I rebelled against this rule several times. Things like days like my birthday or Fridays, or if it was a holiday and we had to work, I would accidentally forget to wear my uniform, or I would say that they were all dirty and they were in the laundry, or I just spilled my coffee on it yesterday and I didn't have time to wash it, and I would wear my own clothes. And they only sent me home one time. They were like, you have to go back home to change. And I was like, are you serious? You're going to lose like 3 hours of my time? I'm still going to get paid my salary, but you're going to lose 3 hours of my time because you want me to wear corporate wear. But a few more times I refused to wear it, and they didn't send me back home. They were just like, they kind of rolled their eyes and said, oh, this is Jake, he's never going to do what he's told to do. That was towards the end of my career, and I knew I wasn't going to stay in that role for very long, so I just didn't give a crap anymore, and I did whatever I wanted. But those things would come up during my one-to-one later, and they would be obviously negative things that worked against me, but at that point I didn't care. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. These are some of the things that I hated about being a cashier. So if you want to be a cashier, just be aware of those things. This is how banks operate. This is how they work. But I'm going to make another video about the good things about being a cashier and the things that I loved about being a cashier. Maybe love is a strong word. The things that I liked about being a cashier. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.